What we're looking at here is a pond in my backyard. It's approximately 70 feet long, maybe 25 feet wide at its widest point. So right now I've got the water drained down pretty low. I tried to dry it out completely so I can clean it up, but we've been getting a lot of rain, so that hasn't been possible. There's actually some drains there that come from up in the pool area and dump water in here. There's two of them, one at that end as well. But I've got it down pretty low at this point. So the project is I'm going to put some lighting in here. And Gardenreet has sent me 3 pond lights. So they're underwater lights that are going to go in here. And I'll put them, approximately evenly spaced throughout this. And it's the shape of this, I guess you'd call it like a liver. So it's not quite an oval. It has a little bit of a curve there. It's probably 2.5 feet deep normally, and then I don't fill it up all the way because I want to allow some space for the rainwater to fill it up. So anyways, the 3 lights will be in there. Now typically you might wire these low voltage lights off to the side. You run the wires out to each side. But in my case, there's actually a bulkhead in here, and I'll show more of that when we get to it. But anyways, it runs underground to this little pump house. Well, called a pump house. It's a pump fenced area. And in here, there's actually a sump and a second pipe. You can see it right there with the little loop of, that's actually an aerator hose coming up. So that pipe goes to the pond, and I can run wires through that. So I can put the low voltage transformer in this area, and there's already power here, and that the power is already set to go on and off, go on at sunset, and then go off at depending on the day, I think like 11 o'clock on weekdays and like 1 or 2 a.m. on weekends. And the lights that I got are 3000 the temperature. So they're a little sharper than a soft white. Most of my outdoor lighting is soft white, but I figured for underwater here we'd need a little more on the, I don't know, call it the brightness scale. A little more on the temperature, more towards the daylight temperature. Still pretty close to a soft white though. So next thing I'm going to do is go unbox what Gardenreet has sent me, and I'll have to make a few modifications to do what I want to do in here, and I'll run through that and then we'll get it all set up. All right, let's go through the items that Gardenreet sent over, starting with wire. Now, as I already mentioned, I'm not going to use this. You'll see why when we get deeper into the project, but they did send me 100 feet of 16 gauge wire, which I do appreciate because I will always use wire at some point or another. Now, the transformer. Here it is in the box. If you watched my last video with the Gardenreet lights, then you're familiar with this. Comes with a screwdriver, some extra screws. We got some instructions. Let's pull this big boy out here. Now, what I really like about this, most obvious thing you see right away, right? This thing is all stainless steel. In Florida here, that's definitely a big plus. Harsh environment. If it were to be in the sun, of course, that breaks down plastics. If it were metal or aluminum, of course, it's going to corrode. But this one, solidly built. Got easy to use 2 tabs on the mounting. Got a keyhole type tab on the top. So you put it in, drop it down. Got a little leeway on the bottom one there to slide it down. And then this pops right off. So the cover comes completely out of the way, which is another good thing. Here's some specifications. So inside, very simple, on-off switch, right? You've got a jumper here in case you want to put a light sensor. That way you can have an automatic dusk to dark type system. You've got the timer, so you just spin this to the current time, and you move these little levers in and out for the on and off. And down in there is a terminal block. So you got your common, you got a 12 volt, and you have a 15 volt tap. 15 volt is nice to have. A lot of transformers do not have that. And if you have a long run, that helps account for some of that voltage drop. So a really nice transformer. Let me get this out of the way. All right, let's move on to the star of the show, which is going to be our lights. So these are underwater lights. I've got 3 of them again. Now, these do not include the bulbs, which is kind of nice because then you can pick your temperature, the color temperature. I'm going to go with the 3000K Now, most of my outdoor lighting is 2700, which is soft white, but seeing that this is going to be underwater, I wanted a little more of that, little closer to that daylight light. It's not really, it's I forget what they call it. I think they call it a bright white, but it's not the soft white. It's just basically the next step up. So let's open it up, take a look. So of course we got instructions. We've got some connectors, which I will not be using. You'll see why when we get to that. So you got 3 plastic anchors and 3 stainless steel screws. Gotta have stainless steel. And here comes the light itself. It's got 25 feet of, looks like a 16 gauge wire attached to it. Now this is actually looks heavier than traditional 16 gauge. It's a solid copper wire, but it looks heavier because it's got a very thick jacket on it. So that's nice for any kind of outdoor lighting, but especially being in the pond, because you really don't want abrasions or anything cutting that wire causing a problem. The housing is solid brass. Now it says on the box that the mount is composite, however you say that, or maybe that's internal, because this feels like it's all brass. Very heavy duty though. I mean, just look at the connection. Look at the seal here. This thing, I don't know, weighs like 2 pounds. So you can see the spring and the socket in there. When the bulb goes in, the bulb will connect to that socket, and then that spring will push the bulb up towards the lens here. So very simple to install it. Of course, you can adjust it. And then you got the 3 mounting holes. Now, you could just set this, of course, on the ground, but seeing that it's going to be in a pond, I don't want it to settle into the mud over time and slowly tip over or fall over. So I'm going to build concrete bases for these, and that's going to be the next thing that I do. In fact, let's move over and start doing that right now. All right, let's mark these buckets. Doesn't really matter I'm just how high you go. I'm just trying to cut them down, make them a little more useful. Gives me a nice straight line across there. I'm going to cut them. Okay, I want to make these a little smoother on the top. So I'm going to try 2 different things. First I'll just try this oscillating tool. See how that works out. I'm just going to take this ridge here off. Looks like it's got a slight indent, so I can leave that there. That's pretty flat as it is. Just for fun, let's try a flapper disc. Probably a lot messier. Well, a little messy, but either way it works just fine. So now what I'm going to do is grab one of the bases for the lights, set it on here, and I'm going to mark for the screw holes. It'll make sense in a minute. Okay, what I'm going to do is set the base on there and mark for these holes. And then I'll drill them out. Okay, what I'm gonna do next is there's some plastic anchors that came with these. So I'm gonna set the anchors on these. I'm just gonna double check all these holes, make sure they look good. Good. Yep. So I'm going to use shorter screws, and I'm going to have the anchors protrude through the bucket. And you'll see when I pour the concrete, those anchors will be in the proper position. Pretty simple. Okay, I've got the screws and anchors here. I'm using number 6 screws, even though number 8s came with these, because I don't want to stretch these out ahead of time. So it looks good. Fasten them in here. See it sticking up in there. So it is expanding it a little bit. That's okay, that's why I used a smaller screw. Okay, so I've got the 3 anchors poking up. I know this is really dirty. I'm going to clean it up a little bit before I pour the concrete in there. But that's all that's really left to do. See, it cleans up pretty easy. So I'll clean this up, and then I'll pour concrete, not quite to the top, about 3/4 of the way up. Get about, I don't know, maybe 2.5 inches of concrete in there, close to 3. So I'll get the rest of the screws on these, get these cleaned up, and then we'll pour concrete in. All right, through the magic of the internet, I've got all these prepared now. See how nice and clean they are? And some of you might be saying, hey dummy, why didn't you clean them before you put the screws in there? Actually, I did. I went back and took those few out and then cleaned them and then put them back in. So one thing I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna spray these with some WD-40 just to help with the release of the concrete. This won't be harmful to the pond. WD-40 is fine. Okay, and next thing, just pour some concrete in. Just happen to have some mixed up right here. Pick one at random. All right, so I'm gonna work this around a little bit. Get it all around the edges as good as possible. Of course, it's easy to tell how much I need because I'm mixing in a bucket, and these are bucket bottoms. I'm right about 3 inches there. Got a little extra. Concrete's cheap. Okay, and one last thing. I cut just a little piece of wire mesh, a little bit of welded wire. I have to bend over a corner here. So I'm going to drop these in each one, just that way if it cracks, it'll stay together. So that's the theory. So just make it fit in there good. And sink that right on down there. It's gone. So I think we're good to go. Okay, one down. I'll set this aside. We'll let it dry and then check it out probably tomorrow. Probably give it about 24 hours to dry and see how it comes out. All right, let's check in then. All right, let's take a look at these forms. You can see I've already unpackaged one of them here. Now the bottoms came out a little rough, but that's fine. They're just gonna be sitting on in the mud anyways. So all I gotta do is take these screws out. You can see it's already dropping down there. These screws were actually holding it up. That's due to that WD-40 I sprayed in there. Makes it release very easy. There we go. Number 2, ready to go. I'll get this last one ready and then we'll start to some wiring. Okay, for the next step on the underwater lighting, I need to extend the cords that came with these lights that are going to go in the pond. They came with a 25-foot cord, but I measured out. I need a lot more. The wires will be run in the water, so they're not going to just go up to the side of the bank or anything like that. They're going to run through the water, through a bulkhead up into a kind of a sump pump area. This is a 16 gauge 2-conductor wire. It's actually a very nice wire, you can see. It's got a nice thick sheathing on it. Now I tried to find matching wire to extend this with. It's very difficult because most wires you're going to get like this are going to be 3-conductor. They'll include a ground. And if you buy it off the bulk spool, you're looking at about $1 a foot. So to get around that, I just buy a big extension cord. So this is a 16 gauge extension cord. The outer thickness is almost exactly the same. And that's going to be important when I heat shrink them together. So it's going to have 3 conductors in it. The outer sheathing won't be quite as strong, but that's really not going to be a problem in my case because it's not a harsh environment. I just got to keep the water out of there. Even if water got in, it wouldn't hurt anything because the individual wires would be protected as well. So I'm going to cut this into 3 pieces, a 15-foot, 35-foot, and a 50-foot, and then I'm going to extend each of these. So we'll get on with that now. Okay, we are ready to extend these wires. So this is the wire from the light. It's already pre-stripped, which is nice. And here's my extension cord. So what I need to do is strip off the outer sheathing. Okay, we're not going to use the ground wire. So that's going to go. Let's strip these a little bit. Let's see, get some glasses on so I can see. Maybe a little more. Now, I'm going to try something I've never tried before. This is new to me. I'm going to try these little solder seal connectors. But first, I'm going to put a piece of heat shrink tubing. This is gel filled, so it'll bond to the outer sheath there once it's melted. So that'll help keep water out. But these little guys are supposed to be waterproof as well. All you do is stick the wire in there. In fact, I can probably do 2 at once. And you just want to get the the bare wire into that area where the solder is. So let's see how this goes. This might not work, but if it does work, it's easy. So I'm all lined up in there. And make sure my gun is on high. There's a way to lock that on. Yep, sure is. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the heat gun up here and maneuver these in front of it instead of trying to maneuver the gun. Let's see what happens. So they're shrinking. That's a good sign. I'm not seeing the solder melting yet. I'm 100% sure that this is going to get hot enough, but we'll find out here shortly. Yeah, they are shrinking on there nicely. But again, no action on the solder. Oh, there it goes. It's like a trade-off. Do I want to risk burning the plastic here? Get that. Oh, okay. I see the solder is actually flowing now, so that's what I'm happy about. Just keep it going until I'm seeing good flow from both connections. The white one is definitely good. And I think they're both good now. A little more in the black one. Well, looks pretty good. We let them cool. I really enjoy these cordless tools, like this heat gun. So I'll let these cool down for a second. That was easy. I'm going to slide this heat shrink over the whole thing. I'm going to feel, you can kind of feel where it's at, to where it's equal on both sides. And let's get this going again. My arm might be in the way here, but I want to get it done right. Yeah, when you heat this, you actually see the gel come out the end just a little bit. A little awkward here. I'm kind of on the, not really in the camera range there, but I'm trying to get it done. Yeah, those heat shrink connectors really made this easy. I think seeing the gel oozing out of the ends, I think that is a sign we're ready. Now this has to cool, obviously. I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but it's like shiny there at the end. And then once, ooh, it's very hot. Well, once that cools off, it should be good to go. Just got to do the other two wires. Okay, I've got all the lights ready to go. I'm going to head over to the pond. Now, unfortunately, we've had a lot of rain. I've been trying to not drown the pond. I've been trying to drain the pond and get the water level down, but unfortunately that hasn't worked. It's been way too much rain lately. So I'm just going to have to put on some waders and go out there and position the lights where I think they should go, and then run the wires. Okay, I've run the wire up through the bulkhead, so the three lights are in the pond now, and the wires come up underground through this bulkhead here. There's actually a air hose going down there as well. So not a lot left here. I got like 3 feet on one, maybe 5 feet on the other, so that was kind of pretty close. Gives me a little wiggle room if I need to move the lights around out there. I need to put the power supply out here, either mount it to that side, or maybe probably over here, just because the power outlet is here. And this power outlet turns on with all my outside lights, so it'll automate all of those. So let me go get that set up, get them wired up, and see if they turn on. I've got power to the lights now, and they're turned on. Of course, it's daytime, and they are blue, so it's really hard to see. Right in the center of the screen right there, there's a blue dot. And the blue dot, and a blue dot. That one, I can see that the light has turned. I'm going to need to go over there and adjust it. So they are working. I have to wait until nighttime to see what they actually look like. All right, here's the pond lit up at night. It's a little hard to see because all the other lighting is throwing off the contrast from the phone. I like the blue color. I do wish it were spread a little wider. I'm actually going to try a couple other bulbs, but for now I wanted to get this video completed and out. And you can see the bulbs, the light's pulsing a little bit. There's some growth in the pond, some weeds, so they're kind of covering the lights. I need to clean that up, find some solution around that. But for now, it's done. It looks pretty neat. Like I said, I'm just going to try some white lights, and I'm going to try some higher powered LED lights, the blue I mean. Trying to get a little zoom in on that, but again, the background lighting is kind of throwing it off. So makes a neat effect though, like the shimmering blue.